Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for another round of, well, what we're newly going to call Comic Corner, or something. Leave a thought down in the comment section. We'll leave it to you people to figure out what we should call this segment. And, yeah, we're going to get right into it with Nightwing issue 95 by Tom Taylor. So, this story goes a bit... Again, as I said before, we're finally picking up steam, and now I mean it this time. So anyway, last time, Mayor Zuko, Dick Grayson's half-sister got kidnapped by Blockbuster because he found out that she was contacting Nightwing, and we just jump ahead. Yeah, Nightwing comes in, saves her, and we're so set on saving her. Even when Blockbuster shows up, we run his ass over with the car, and we just go. Meanwhile, at the Bloodhaven Police Department, the former commissioner says, hey, you know what? I have a file on Blockbuster, and if you can guarantee me full immunity, I'll give it to you. I might just give it to you. And he seemed to have forgotten that Blockbuster owns at least half the Bloodhaven Police Department, so he pretty much just said, I'll rat the boss out. And they're like, shame. And yeah, he gets shot. And Maggie, who wasn't quite ready for the level of corruption that the Bloodhaven Police Department had, was like, so what? What was this? And she's just not ready. So anyway, Mayor Zuko comes in and goes, hey, so hate to tell you this, but this whole time I've been planning to overthrow Blockbuster, expose him to the world, get him out of Bloodhaven once and for all, and I have access to 4 of his crimes, and if we get him out in the open, expose him, we can take him down, but to do that, we need some help, so we call in Nightwing and Batwoman, and Maggie knows Batwoman. They almost got married in the early days of New 52, and it's become a bit awkward, even when Nightwing says, okay, so here's a file, everyone's ever taken a bribe from Blockbuster in their time with the Blood Police Department, so now you know who you can and can't trust. Maggie is still like, but it's Batwoman, and Nightwing's like, okay, I don't know what all this is, this back and forth thing, but can we just check it, just put it aside right now and work on saving lives? And yeah, so they do, with the help of Nightwing's expanded family, consisting of this really great roster where Batman should be in the middle. What is Batman looking at? I don't know. They take down these 4 operations, and pretty good all at the same time too. And to be fair, this is a top quality team. All right, even Blue Jay and the Signal can't ruin this team because they don't do anything of any real interest. You've got Steph, Cass, Donna Troy, Cyborg, who's on the Teen Titans now, so he makes sense. Beast Boy, Starfire, Tim Drake. This is a great roster. Again, those 2 chuckleheads on the left can't ruin this. So anyway, it's because it all goes to pot. Blockbuster's had enough. He's like, look, get the car, get my bazooka, I'm burning stuff down. And he does. Fires off everything, attacks New Haven. And, yeah, before we can delve into that more, we have to delve into the history of Batwoman and Maggie Sawyer. To which Batwoman reveals, like, yeah, we were supposed to get married at one point. And she goes, like, it was a mixture of stubbornness, stupidity, and fear. And I think it's more of a jab at DC editorial at the time. So, New 52, Maggie and Kate were, again, supposed to be married. And then they didn't. Editorial said they can't get married, and it led to the question of, was editorial being homophobic? Their first openly gay characters in the DC universe, and it didn't happen. To be fair, marriages rarely happen in comics. Look at Batman and Catwoman. I believe it was Kitty Pryde and Colossus. They didn't happen. But the argument at the time was 2 things, one of which I agree with, one I don't agree with. One's personal, which is I don't think anyone in the Bat family should be happy. Like, no. You put on this moniker, you're going out at night, beating people up, you're not happy with your life. You just aren't. And just because Batwoman's gay does not mean she should escape this. No. Be miserable with the rest of them. The other one is that DC believe that their characters shouldn't get married, which I would agree in terms of the Bat family. But no, Aquaman and Mera, Animal-Man and his wife, Owlman and Jesse Quick. There are plenty of great marriages in DC Comics. Don't undo it because of something stupid, which is what that was. That means Barry Allen can't marry Iris West. I'm like, no, stop it. Is that why they got rid of Wally? to further solidify that they couldn't get married. I don't know. Anyway, this whole doom and gloom is ruined by Orca going, "Hey, I got more doom and gloom because Haven is in hell," and Nightwing comes face to face with Blockbuster, holding some orphans hostage, and the fight. It's not really a fight; it's punishment. And in the scuffle of punishment, Nightwing's mask falls off, and he finds out it's Dick Grayson, and he's in a mood. And to be fair, this gives me vibes of Forever Evil. So in that story, when the Crime Syndicate took over Earth, they announced that, hey, we've defeated the Justice League. They throw out Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, Aquaman's trident, Superman's cape, and then to prove they killed Batman, they reveal Nightwing. I'm like, it's not how that works. But then they take off Nightwing's mask and reveal he's Dick Grayson. Lex Luthor goes, "Who the hell's Dick Grayson?" And then Dick Grayson's ID comes up on the screen. And overall, Nightwing issue 95 was really great, really fun. There's really nothing that great to say about it. It fell into the trappings of a lot of Nightwing stories in Tom Taylor, which is the character Dick Grayson just keeps winning and winning. So finally, there's a downside to it. Also, what's with the dude that's taking hearts? Like, he doesn't matter. He's occupied maybe 9 pages out of every story, out of every issue he's been in since Tom Taylor took over. Those pages could have been used to flesh out Blockbuster, Mayor Zuko, any of those characters, any of those dynamics. But no. So at some point, I need Dick Grayson to find out that this whole time he's letting a bunch of homeless people get their hearts stolen. Overall, this issue was fine. It was fine. It was more than fine. It was good. It was good. Next is DC's Young Justice, issue 3 by Megan Fitzmartin, and she had a very cynical view of Young Justice. I don't think it's there. I've only read about the first 2 volumes of Young Justice with Tim, Connor, and Bart, and Cassie, and Arrowette, and some other girl made of dust. It was weird. I don't see that there. Maybe I'll get to it at some point. But anyway. So when we last left off, they were all getting ready, you know what, let's figure out what's going on here. And then the chuckleheads of Deathstroke, Lex Luthor, and Captain Boomerang, because of course there's someone named Captain Boomerang, are holding Wonder Girl hostage. And the fight ensues. And what's really cool about this setup is not only does Lex Luthor look like he wants to be Thanos, but there's some personal beef with these characters. Bart has never really forgiven Deathstroke for shooting his kneecap out, and Tim needs to have some words with Captain Boomerang for killing his dad, and Connor has been dealing with the whole "I'm a clone of Lex Luthor and Superman" for years. I'm technically the son of the best and worst of Metropolis. So So they take him down. It's supposed to be sort of cathartic in some way. We're really sort of getting this personal therapy out of the way. We're sort of discovering who we are. And it works at the same time it doesn't work. I really think it only works because of the history with those characters, so you're invested in it. But overall, the bigger idea is Bart realizing something's still off. And that discussion leads to sort of a falling out with the group. The fact that, no one wants to listen to Bart on the fact that something seems wrong, and Bart takes that personally because Tim and Connor will believe each other no matter what they say, no matter how ridiculous. So he leaves. And then Connor's like, don't bother with him, and Tim's like, hold on, that's not what we do here. And so he leaves, and then it leads to sort of the slow reveal of what's going on here, and even possibly more catharsis. Maybe, possibly, I'm not sure. There's still 3 more issues after this. So Bart is given the choice to stay here in this perfect world, and eventually become the Flash, which is what he's always wanted. And he wants people to sort of acknowledge him, see his accomplishments, point out that everything he's done has led to something good. And he's like, it doesn't feel like it's right to just stay here in a world that might be fake. To which Cassie just smirks and snaps. And we don't see him again. And the same thing happens with Tim at Gotham, where Cassie offers, you could stay here, be the only Robin, no Damian Wayne, and you could eventually be Batman. And Tim points out, look, Damian's a pain in my ass, and if there was one person I would just strangle the life out of, it'd probably be Damian, but he's my brother, alright? And I don't need to be Batman, or I don't need him gone to validate myself. He kind of does, really. The arrival of Damian Wayne primarily led to him getting fired from the role of Robin and rebranding himself as Red Robin. And the New 52 took that away from him. So I don't know. Maybe he does need Damian gone. But he says, like, you know what? I don't need to stay here for that. And to which Cassie just smirks and snaps. And same thing happens with Connor. Connor's offered a chance. Now, Connor had been dead since Final Crisis. All right? He'd been dead. No one had seen him. To my knowledge, I can't remember anyone saw him until Young Justice. Even the Superboy in New 52, if I'm not mistaken, was not Connor Kent. Might have been. I didn't read Teen Titans. Or any story with that Superman. Or that Superboy, but whatever. And Cassie says, this is what you deserve. Your chance to be Superman. And Connor points out he's never liked the word deserve. It's too much like Lex Luthor. Which is true. Lex always felt he deserved certain things. Granted, Lex has earned a lot. But he always felt like he deserves to be the face of humanity. The man of tomorrow. And Connor doesn't need that. He doesn't want that. Like, yeah, it's nice. And it's a bit weird that, you know, he's kind of been replaced on some level. But he doesn't need it. To which Cassie just says, you know what? If you don't do this, he's going to be mad. He's like, who's going to be mad? Cassie again just sort of smirks and snaps. And they wake up in the watchtower, like, what's going on? I don't like this. And Cassie shows up going like, sorry, so you're not doing what needs to be done. My boss is not going to be happy about this, so I'm going to have to make you stay here the old-fashioned way. By beating you into submission. And, yeah, so we got Plastic Man, Donna Troy, I don't know who that is in the back, Starfire, Aquaman, Huntress, Atom, the Atom, Jesse Quick, Martian Manhunter, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, Nightwing, is that Connor Hawk? Wally West, Batman, like, they're gonna put the hurt on. So let's be clear, you have Wally, Batman, you have Wally, Starfire, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. It's kind of, and the Atom, yeah, we're done. We're done. Like, Batman's really just here to lead the team, because that's what he does. Overall, this issue felt a bit better than the last one, primarily because it was much less negative towards everything that came before, even less negative than the first issue. Because those two issues really felt like we were sort of tearing down that Young Justice era. And I don't think that sat well with fans, because, you know, yeah, the era wasn't perfect. What era is perfect? But to almost make it sound like there's nothing good about it, I think really didn't sit well with people. This one here is sort of the idea of this perfect world, and I think the problem is seeing those perceived flaws of the perfect world didn't really work out well, but more seeing that this world is really catering to what they really want. The fact that Tim, Connor, Bart, and to an extent Cassie really would like to go back to when things were better and simpler for them is a good story, but then to go, well, there was nothing good about it to begin with, I don't think works. There's a middle ground here that I'm hoping will be explored in the next 3 issues. Overall, though, this was much better. Seeing this temptation of, hey, you could be this, you could be that, you could do all that. And even more so, facing these sort of darker moments in their lives, I felt was really good. So points to Fitzmartin. Points to Fitzmartin. Take a sip. And finally, we have One Bad Day. The Riddler by Tom King with art by Mitch Gerads. Mitch Gerads does great work for Tom King. Like, some of his best stories are with Mitch Gerads. Actually, his only good stories are with Mitch Gerads. Not counting Vision, because I haven't read Vision, but it was really what got him to DC. But anyway, this is part of an initiative called Batman One Bad Day, where pretty much Batman's Rogues Gallery, minus the Joker, thank heavens, get their own little special 64-page story. And look at that lineup. Bane, Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, Ra's al Ghul, you just had a story. Alright, Clayface, my dude, you haven't had much to do. Harvey, does he look more like Tommy Lee Jones on his normal side now? Are we just echoing Batman? Oh no, Batman Forever? No, and Riddler by default. So, this story opens up, and this story is kind of weird. Tom King mentioned that the Killing Joke came out 35, 40 years ago, and he wanted to do a Killing Joke for the Riddler. And I kind of wonder if that's the premise of all of these stories. If we're trying to give each of them a Killing Joke. I don't think so. And I hope not. I don't think they could all carry a Killing Joke. Victor really can't. Catwoman can't. Because one of the things about the Killing Joke is, of course, Batman being driven to kill these people. And if he kills Catwoman, well, if he wouldn't kill her for standing him up at the altar, yeah. But anyway. So, this whole story is really about Riddler having enough. Like, this all just starts with Riddler killing a dude in broad daylight, no riddle, no connection between Riddler and the guy, and all he wants is to talk to Batman. And he sort of reveals things that... I think that's the wrong way to approach the story. So this story is really sort of a look at Riddler's life. And it's not really one bad day so much as this is why the character is the way they are. This is the environment they grew up in that led to them being who they are. And this story here is supposed to be about, I think it's supposed to be the high point of Riddler's life. The great moment. And here we look at his childhood with his abusive father and the trauma left on him, because that's what Tom King does. Toxic fathers, suicide, making Batman look bad and incompetent, also like an ass. Not a funny ass, just an ass. A really cool moment here, though, where he goes like, look, you've already pointed that gun at me, and you run out of options after that. So you can sit down and tell me what you know. This can hurt. And also attempts to sort of flesh out Riddler's competency and his threat level. So when Riddler's surrounded, he just points out that he knows all the guards here. He knows where their families are, and if something bad happens, their families will die. And that sort of leads to the guards having this weird shootout. Like, no one shoots the Riddler, and Gordon's sort of impotent the whole time. And there's this other story about how Edward, as a kid, hated riddles, and his teacher, like, he put a riddle on a test, and Edward always got it wrong. But all that ultimately doesn't matter. Because like any good Killing Joke story, or anything wanting to echo elements of the Killing Joke, what really matters is that final confrontation, the setup between Batman and Riddler. Or whatever road, Batman and Joker in that case, of the Killing Joke. So here it is. And I think ultimately, King sort of misses what a confrontation between Batman and Riddler would look like. It would be an intellectual battle of wits, but I think it would also almost borderline on the philosophical, where I think with Joker it was more on the psychological. In terms of like what constitutes wisdom and intelligence and what a person can actually do with that, and how Riddler views himself. Riddler's always sort of viewed himself as the intellectual superior of everyone. So in this sort of final test, he would sort of be acknowledging, hey, the only person that can match my wits here is Batman. I want him here for this final game, this final riddle. And there's no riddle here. And to King's credit, that is a good idea. This story starts off, well, it doesn't start. How the story comes to its conclusion is where it ultimately does fall apart. But it's a really good way to almost go about it. So, in this final confrontation, Riddler reveals that he's always known that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Nothing new to Riddler's continuity. And most stories he does know that Batman is Bruce Wayne. There was a great story in Hush where he says, like, hey, I know you're Bruce Wayne. Batman goes, if you tell anyone, I'll tell the League of Assassins you use Lazarus Pits, and they'll just kill your ass. Alright, let's go. Also, you won't tell anyone because there's nothing smart about knowing a riddle everyone knows the answer to, and Batman walks out like a boss. It's a great scene because in that battle of wits, Batman's wisdom is what gives him the edge over Riddler. So, in other words, Riddler has knowledge, he doesn't have wisdom. It's a really great tech, and that's just me being pretentious. So feel free to contradict that in the comment section. But anyway, he sort of points out, hey, not only do I know that you're Batman, that you're Bruce Wayne, I know about Dick, Jason, Tim, Barbara, Cass, Steph, Harper Row, Duke Thomas, Jefferson Pierce. I know everybody that goes in there. I know everyone in the Bat family. I know Kate Kane, all of them. I can rat them out, I can kill them, whatever. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I'm here to let you know that you can let me do whatever I want from now on. You're not going to touch me, you're not going to do anything. I can go ahead and just do whatever I want, and if you try to stop me, not only will I possibly kill them, I'll just kill some random person on the street. And here's the problem with this. This has never been demonstrated. And this is where King sort of falls apart. This sort of blatant confrontation doesn't work. What I think King should have done is admit that he ripped this off from Sherlock with Charles Augustus Manderson with the idea of, hey, there's a serial blackmailer going around, and because he's a serial blackmailer, he can do whatever he wants. That's really it. That's his entire story. It's just really going, I know stuff, and I'm going to use that stuff, do what I want, and you can't stop me. The issue is, though, is that in those stories with these kind of characters, they don't stand right in front of someone unless they have all the angles in the world. But the trick is there, most of the time, Charles Augustus Manderson knows that people won't kill him because it's legal. Batman already operates outside the law to some extent. With this level of power, Riddler should not leave this area, but he will, and that's where it falls apart. This should have been the scene where Riddler messes up and gets killed, where Batman goes, "You're right, I can't outsmart you, I'll just have to kill you," and that's it. But because Riddler's never demonstrated this, we just have to take it on faith that all of this can happen, but he hasn't demonstrated it before. He did the same thing in the War of Jokes and Riddles, where Riddler just scares people, saying, "Hey, I know where your family lives." I'm like, all right, you got anybody waiting outside to kill him? You don't? Oh, guess what? I'm going to shoot you in the throat, and we'll just call it a day. So yeah, that's where this falls apart. And somehow this leads to this huge blowback. The GCPD can't do anything to Riddler. He can just do whatever he wants. The 5 crime families can't do anything to him. All right? Gordon can't even get permission from the mayor or anyone else to do something to Riddler because he's got dirt on that. He's got their families watched too. I'm like, that's not how this works. Not how this works. And then it goes to, like, even the president of the Gotham National Bank says, "Look, if Edward Nygma walks in, you give him whatever he wants, legal or not." I'm like, wait, no. So everyone here is fed up with this dude. That means everyone here can just end this dude. It's not, no. So then Bruce goes to the family of the woman, the family of the man that Riddler killed in the beginning of the story, and she just spends the entire time sort of being pissed off at Batman because he's supposed to keep us safe. He's not doing that, and that's something else. So people shaming Batman is also something Tom King likes to do. He really doesn't like Batman. He really doesn't. It's kind of weird that he keeps writing all these Batman stories. And this ultimately leads to Batman killing Riddler, which I don't think should have happened here, as I said before, should have happened earlier. And that's how this comic ends. Again, like the Killing Joke, where the implication is that Batman kills the Joker. So, yeah, that's Batman One Bad Day of the Riddler, and it's well written. It's well written, which, I've sort of realized is like the nice thing someone can say about something they didn't like. Like, you know what? I follow the story. It's clear. It's concise. Still kind of stupid, though, or at least it doesn't quite work out some ways. Because this story, like say what you want about Tom King, he has a lot of good ideas. If you look at his Batman run, that's a lot of good ideas there. All right? At no point do I read any of his Batman and say, these are all bad ideas. Like, no, there's some merit here, but he's going about it the wrong way. How he wants to approach these things is bad. I think, especially with this story here, because he clearly very much wants to tell the Killing Joke with the Joker, but because the Killing Joke already exists, he has to use the Riddler, and he doesn't quite seem to get the how the Killing Joke works in the concept of one bad day. Because first of all, this is a series of bad days for the Riddler in his past that leads to the final culmination of him becoming the Riddler. The idea, though, is that so with Joker, it didn't really quite matter what he's told, because even he says, "I'm not quite sure if that was really what happened." So, yeah. But this story here, the abusive dad, that came, to my knowledge, and it probably came from somewhere else, but that definitely came from the Arkham Asylum patient interview tapes, which is like one of the best things about the Arkham Asylum game was patient interview tapes. The idea that Riddler gave Joker the idea to shoot Barbara Gordon in the spine feels like it was basically just rehashed from Scott Snyder's story, The Dark Mirror, where Jim Gordon Jr., Jim Gordon's son, tells Barbara that he gave Joker the idea. So yeah, speaking of Scott Snyder, this whole idea about blackmailing people with information on them, this is basically All-Star Batman with Two-Face. That's it. So this story in itself, it feels like it's a mishmash of stories that already exist. Sherlock with Charles Augustus Manderson, which was the illustrious client in the Sherlock Holmes books, if I'm not mistaken. The Dark Mirror story, I believe it was called The Dark Mirror story. It was written by Scott Snyder, because Arkham Asylum, which is actually where Riddler really does the most work. Riddler is very good at that behind-the-scenes machinations, and as I said before, he should almost feel like smoke, like a ghost. This sort of riddle that Batman's trying to unravel, the sort of Rubik's Cube that Batman's trying to figure out. And every time he thinks he's got it right, Riddler does something that changed. Like he almost changes, like he adds like an extra layer to the Rubik's Cube. So he has to solve that, and that changes everything else. This should be a story that pushes Batman to the limit. And granted, there is something great about the idea that everyone expects it to be a riddle, and there isn't a riddle. Riddler's just sort of hit this point where I don't need riddles anymore. And the problem is there's no great crime for Batman to solve. Everyone's just trying to figure out why he did that, why Nigma did this. You don't really need motive to explain why Riddler did something when it's on camera that he did it. Alright, motive is used to prove that someone had a reason to do something. You don't need it, but you don't need to display a motive when you actually see them do it. Alright? Or whatever, I don't know. So Tom King could not help himself. He really tried, I think, to almost not be himself, but he was himself. Because anytime Batman's in a story, 9 times out of 10, Tom King will devote time to sort of making Batman uninteresting. Because he's not interested in Batman. He really isn't. He's interested in Bruce Wayne. Because his Bruce Wayne, I felt, was alright. But his Batman always seems to have to be sacrificed to elevate other characters. He did it with Joker, and his Batman run, did it with Catwoman, and his other run did it with Catwoman again, and Batman and Catwoman. He just can't help it. He just can't help it. So yeah. Overall, though, is this a good story? I think if you're a Riddler fan, you might find some merit to this. But I expect this will probably be one of the weaker stories, but it won't be one of the worst written stories. Like, there again, good ideas here. But there's at least how many people here on this picture? So 3, 6, there's 8. We have 7 more to go. I'm looking forward to Penguin, because Penguin doesn't get enough love. Don't make him look like he's from a Tim Burton movie. Oh, I hate that. Two-Face has anything to do really lately. And now there's Clayface or Freeze, so it'll be nice to see those guys. But overall, I expect this will be somewhere in the middle of the ground. I expect Joshua Williamson's story, which is about Bane. Joshua Williamson's writing a story on Bane, so we'll see how that plays out. That might be one of the better ones. But again, I'm really hoping for a good story from Penguin and Two-Face, because really, Two-Face, Riddler, and Penguin, along with Scarecrow, are, I think, better villains than Joker. At least less overrated. So anyway, enough of this, enough of my hoopla. Let's bring this video to a close. If you are new to the Bucket Think, if you like, comment, share, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think. Thanks for off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.